And just like that, we got perfect box joints, really easy to make with this jig. And it's holding out by itself with no glue. We just cut these guys, nice clean box joints, and not too tight, not too loose. We can still put glue in there and get it in together. It fits like a glove. And without any further ado, let's go right into it and show you how I made this. Hey you guys, today I want to show you how to set up the Incra box joint jig to get perfect box joints every single time. Now, in my opinion, this is the best jig on the market right now for box joints. I've tried a few and this one seems to be the best. I have no affiliation with Incra. I bought this jig over a year ago. In fact, if you go down into my videos all the way in the beginning, my second video ever that I posted on this channel, it is, hold on a second. My second video on this channel was me making this box for my daughter. And as you can see, I have box joints here, although they're not really joint. I just use it for decorative purposes. The joints are just miters. But I thought it was so cute of mixing up this for an interesting design. And this is my daughter's box. She holds her favorite candies in it. And I just wanted to show you that I was able to make box joints really well. If you look at them, very clean cuts, really nice box joints. And this was one of my first boxes I have ever made. I was only woodworking for a few months when I made this. And I think the results are beautiful. So I'm going to show you how to set up these jigs so you can make box joints too. Now, before we go into actually calibrating the jig so we can do our box joints, we need to familiarize ourselves with the knobs on the jig. The jig only really has 3 knobs. It's this black one on top, there's this red one here on the side, and then we have a silver one right next to the red one over here. So this black knob, this is your lock and unlock position. That means we have to unlock it in order to make any kind of adjustments. And when we're done with the adjustments, we lock it in place. And that will hold the position, everything the way we set it up. If you need to make any other adjustments, you loosen it, you do your adjustments, and then you lock it back in place. Now, the red and silver knob, they move together unless you hold one down to move the other. And bring you closer. You can see if I move the red knob, the silver one moves with it. And that is a good thing. We want that to happen, and you will see why in a second. So what does the red knob do and what does the silver one do? Well, the red one, if I turn the red knob, can you see these keys over here? And if I turn the red knob, you can see the keys will close, or if I turn it the other way, they will open. So there's more distance between them. So now I'm going to close them, and that's what the red knob does. Now if I turn the silver knob, if I hold down the red knob and just turn the silver one, what that does, it moves the keys closer and further from the blade. So I'm gonna hold down the red and just turn the silver. As you can see, it shifts slowly towards the blade or the other way away from the blade. So, those are the 3 knobs. Now, let's calibrate this thing. First step on calibrating our jig is to calibrate the home position. That means we have to zero out this knob. And if you look here on the red dial, there is a set screw and 2 white lines. We want to make sure that that set screw, it is right there in line in the middle of those white lines. I hope you can see. So the way to adjust that is by moving the silver knob. So I'm going to hold down the red knob and move the silver one whichever direction I need to in order to get that set screw right in the middle of those white lines, which I did. So now we have the home position. The second thing we need to do now is to get these 2 plates to touch. We want to get them together. Right now, as you can see, there's a little bit of space in between them. So I want them to touch each other. So I'm just going to turn the red knob because I told you the red knob is for making the plates go together or separate. And as you can see, they are close together now. So that is the red knob. The next step we need to do is what Incra calls kiss the blade. That means we need to get these two silver plates that are touching each other. We need it to get so it touches, just barely touch the blades, the left side of your dado stack. Let's talk a little bit about the dado stack. I have a couple of different dado stacks, and my favorite one is this one. The reason why I love this dado stack for box joints, it's because it only comes with two blades. Now, the way the blades are, you can cut a 1/4 inch dado or you can cut 3/8 inch dado. And the way you adjust that is by, let me show you here the instructions. So you can see in the instructions, if you put the blades with the writing on the blade, like, you know, one side of the blade does not have anything written and one side has some writing on it. So if you put them with the writing on the outside, then you'll get a 1/4 inch. If you switch them around and you put the writing on the inside, you will get a 3/8 inch dado. So I love this because it makes really quick adjustments. I don't have to, you know, mess around with shims and all that. So right now I have it set out for a 1/4 inch. So as I said, we need to kiss the blade. That means I'm going to move the jig over here and I am going to use the silver button. So I'm going to hold down onto the red one and turn the silver button until my keys are touching the blade. So you can see when I move it, it gently bumped into it. So it's touching it. Now the next thing we need to do is to adjust this base plate. This is what holds the support of our material when we make the box joints. And I want to move them about 1/8 inch on this side away from my blade. You do not want to touch your blade, especially if you have a saw stop. By the way, I'm setting this up on my DeWalt contractor saw because I'm going to keep it set up for box joints. And once you go through all this setup, then as long as you're making the same 1/4 inch, you don't have to do all this all over again. The only other thing you will need to adjust after this is the height of the blade, and that is depending on your material thickness. So I set up that support over there, and this one I'm going to put about 1/8 inch away from the pins. So, and there you go. That is done. Next step is to adjust the height of the blade. And I'm going to do that by placing this material on top of the support here. And then I am going to raise the blade. You want it to be just a tiny little bit, like 1/16 taller than your material. Right now, I'm just going to try to go exactly for my material. Oh, that's pretty good. So we adjusted the blade height. Moving on. Now, if I make my first cut right now, remember we made these pins touch the blade. So this will not be safe to run. So I'm going to move these pins away from the blade until it's about 1/8 inch away from the blade. And I guess I didn't need to arrange this one yet because I will be moving the pins. So I want to make sure I have room in here. There we go. So to move these pins, remember it is the red knob. And I'm not going to hold down the silver knob. I'm going to turn the red knob, and that will make the silver knob move with it. So that means once I start opening these two pins, the silver knob will also move, which it's the one that moves the pins further or closer to the blade. So I'm going to move them together just by turning the red knob. So I am going to turn it until I get about 1/8 inch away from the blades. Now, by moving with the red knob, they also started to open a little bit, and that is okay, because we will need to open them a lot more to adjust for our box joint. So right now I'm looking up and I'm clear to run my piece. I don't have anything obstructing, nothing that will touch my blade. The only other thing I want to do here is to loosen the screws of my sacrificial fence and get a part of the fence that is brand new and does not have cuts in it. So let's do something like that. And you can buy separate sacrificial fences. I have one. Where do I have it? Or you can make your own. It's only a 1/4 inch MDF, and you can see it's a simple fence with 4 screws. And it has 4 of them because when you chew up the bottom, you can flip it around and do the top. That will become the bottom. As you can see, I have done many box joints in there. All right, so we have a fresh new piece of sacrificial fence. We are clear to not touch the blade. The jig also comes with this front guard that you could use. I recommend you use it. I am not going to use it for 2 reasons. 1, because I'm filming and I want you guys to see what's happening here. And 2, because I like to use a clamp when I actually do my box joints, and that just kind of takes the space. It will not allow for my clamp. It does not have enough room. So now we are ready to make our first cut. This is a scrap piece of material. It is the same thickness and size as my actual pieces that will do the box joints. So I'm going to use that. And what I will do is I will take this piece and hold it against the pins right there, hold it down, I will clamp it, and then I will run it through the blade 1 time. So let me find my clamp. My favorite clamp to use with this jig is this face clamps. I think that's what it's called. This one is made by Craig. If I find a link to it, I will put it in the description below. So I'm just going to make 1 cut, and the reason why we do this is because we want to get the thickness of the dado stack in here, and then we can move on to the next adjustment. So this is our cut, and as you can see, we do not have a full pin in here, so this is what the next adjustment is going to happen. We will, first of all, we will separate these 2 pins, and so I will put this piece over my pins, and then I will start turning the red knob until these pins open up and they give a snug fit into this groove. Now I'm going to turn the red knob to open the pins, but remember the silver one will move together with the red one. So in the end, once I get these pins open to fit perfectly into this groove, I should have, because the silver one also turns in the same time, that should make the distance between the blade and the pins equal distance with the opening of our dado stack there. So let's put this over, and I'm going to turn the red pin until it gets snug. So as you can see, now when I push it in, it fits snug, but it does take a little bit of pushing into it. All right, so I think that is good. So I will close this, lock in my adjustments, and now I will move this plate. So I'm going to move this plate to be 1/8 inch away from my pins. There we go. That's going to give us support. And now we are ready to do our test cuts. So I will take my 2 pieces of material. I'm going to put my safety glasses on. And what I will do now is I will move my first piece. I will move it right next to the pins. I'm not sure if you can see from there. Let me see if I can get you a better view. All right. So here is what I will be doing. I'll be putting this first piece right next to my pins. I will clamp it and run it once just like we did with the test piece. Once I make my first groove like we did here, I will put the groove over the pins and I'll make my second groove. Then I'll move it over to the next one and keep going until I run out of material. So let's do that right now. So we got our box joints on the first piece of material, very clean cut as you can see. So now it's time to do the second piece. So the way you start your second piece is by using your first piece. So remember when I started like this and I made a full pin, and then in the end you see I was left with not a full pin. We'll get more into that in some other video where I'll show you how to do center pin box joints. But right now I'm gonna take the first cut, the first groove I've ever made, and I'm going to flip it the other way and put it on this other side, because the next side of the box needs to be completely the opposite. So if I started with a full pin, my first piece, my second piece has to start with a full missing pin with the groove. So I'm going to put this piece over here. I'm gonna butt the one right next to it. I'm going to clamp it. And make sure it really stays buttoned there. All right. Also make sure your piece really goes down. So and that is looking good. Now I can take out the first piece and I'm going to start making grooves just like I did on the first piece. So let's do that. Now let's see if our box joints are fitting. So guess what? We cut the box joints, they look good, nice clean cuts, but they don't fit. They are just a little bit too tight. Well, a little more too tight. So we need to micro adjust our jig to get a looser fit. So let's see how we do that. First I'm going to go and cut off the knobs in here. And we'll start all over with new adjustment and see if we can get it right. Now the micro adjusting button for giving us a looser box joints, it's the silver button. So I'm going to loosen the black screw because we're gonna make an adjustment. And then if I hover over my silver button, I'll have to hold down the red button because the red button opens and closes our pins, which they are set perfectly. So I just want to move the silver button. So looking over it from the side with the button, if you remember lefty loosey, righty tighty, so I need to loosen it. So I'm going to turn it to the left. So I gave it a good turn in there. And now I'm going to tighten my adjustment so it holds it. And now I am going to make the cuts again. I will fast forward this so you don't have to watch the whole thing. So I'm going to make the cuts again and see if we get a perfect fit. So let's see how we did after second adjustment. So now, look at that. Pretty much perfect, not too loose, not too tight. And as you can see, my box joints are sticking out just a little bit, and you want to have that. That is a matter of the blade. I raised the blade just a little bit higher than my material thickness, and that way we have this raised box joints. And that we do that because it's easier to sand these little pieces than if the blade is too low, then you have to sand the whole piece of wood to meet your box joints. So we have a little bit of fuzzies here, but when you sand it, I mean, look at that. Perfect, perfect box joints. No gaps, holds together. This is no glue. So the fit, it's perfect. It's tight enough, yet I can still put glue. And what a beautiful way to make a box. Now, like I said before, I am not sponsored. These products were not sent to me, but I will put all of the items used in this video in the description below. If you're interested, you can purchase it from there. Those are affiliate links. That means no extra cost to you. I will be earning a small commission. I hope this was useful to you and you learned something new. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Skylar Ewing and I'll see you in my next video.